I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Teri O'Brien. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I am terrific. It's so great to talk to you. I am so impressed with what you're doing,
Hey,
Angel.
thank you. I'm impressed with what you're doing as well. But before I let the cat out of the bag, please do tell us, what part of the world are you in, Teri?
I am in the Midwest. I am in suburban Chicago, Illinois.
All right. So which of your talents is responsible for us connecting?
I think it's my desire to help other people be informed and inspired.
Yeah, love that. So who did you learn that from?
A variety of people. I was very close to my grandmother, and she was a woman without a lot of education, but she was a very kind, hardworking woman. I admired her very much, and I think, I saw that she always, I felt, wanted people to be inspired. I think, I picked that up at a very young age.
It's fascinating. It just hit me that some of the most amazing conversations I've had are with people who have had an earliest childhood memory where their grandmother is connected. And I just thought to myself, it's really a dying opportunity that generations are missing the values that can pass through their grandparents.
Oh, I hope not, because, it is such a great thing if you have that, especially when you're an adult and you look back, because no one should ever diminish the value of life experience. There's so many things that you really just can't learn in any other way other than life experience.
Yeah. And through the power of a conversation, you're so on point. Well, Teri, please do tell me. I think, talk to me about your podcast, please. Your podcasts.
Yeah, well, the Terry O'Brien Show is one show that we do, and it's about politics and popular culture, and we try to get a little bit deeper in the news and maybe talk about news that isn't talked about anywhere else. And then we just launched our Dangerous Thinkers with Terry O'Brien podcast, and those are interview shows. So, kind of like what you're doing, 30 minutes or so. Yours are 12 minutes, of course, with interesting, fearless thought leaders and people who challenge the conventional wisdom.
Yeah, pretty amazing things there. Now, when I pulled up, I got Informed America Radio.
Yeah, that's our network. So
Okay.
that's where the Terry O'Brien Show is the flagship show. And we have other shows. We have the Creative Sales Guy Show. That's a guy that does a show talking about, different ways to advance your career in sales. Kind of interesting. And we may add additional shows in the future after we get Dangerous Thinkers up and running. That show is also on Informed America Radio. But I've been sending everybody to iTunes because that's where I'd like everybody to write a review.
Yeah. Well, I definitely connected through iTunes, and just with the last conversation was with Matthew Barber, right? Episode
Yes.
11, yeah? Wow. You don't sound like an episode 11er, if you would allow me to say. You sound like an episode 1100. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Now, that being said by me, I'd like to know, why will you continue to repeat these skills, Teri?
Oh, yeah, I will definitely keep doing it because I don't think the world can ever have enough information and inspiration. I just think we live in a world of sensory overload, so it's helpful to have people come around and maybe unpack information and inspire. So no, I will never stop.
Thank you. Well, Teri, tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
I've been trying every day to remember the power of a kind word.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel wonderful. And, in this podcast, we talked about these people that we interviewed. And like Dr. Swain, she was a single mother. When she was 21, she had 3 kids. She, was uneducated. She grew up in a shack with no plumbing. And she became eventually a professor and a best-selling author. And it was all because when she was a young woman, like 21 years old, in this terrible situation, a doctor said to her, I think you're really smart and I think you could make something of your life. And, just the power of that one thing. And it turned that whole person's life around.
So there's that side, which is the giving of the kind word. What about which is the receiving? My apologies. What about the giving of the kind word? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel wonderful. I just hope it can have an impact. But even if it doesn't, it does make me feel good.
Suggest to someone that's listening, someone that may not be using those kind words, even though they're thinking of it, why they should even consider doing it.
Oh, because it could change a person's life, but it will make you feel better in the moment. It really will. But you may never know. We were talking, Carol Swain and I, about this doctor, and actually she did reconnect with him years later and tell him that he had changed her life. And he was stunned by that.
Well, amazing audience. We are live with Teri O'Brien. You could definitely check her out at the Teri O'Brien show. I loved it. Loved the conversation there. Highly endorse Dangerous Thinkers, right? Wow. Well, Teri, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded by beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Teri, what is your earliest childhood memory?
It involves my grandmother again, the same one I was talking about before. And it's kind of a silly story, but she had this hat, and it was kind of a stylish hat, like you'd see in Vogue or something. And I think we were at the airport. I think she had been visiting and was going to go back home. And she put this hat on me, and I was wearing the hat. And then when we got to the airport, to the gate, and actually you could almost practically get on the airplane with people back then. This was pre 9/11. And there was a lady at the gate, a Japanese lady, I'll remember, because she had kind of a Japanese accent, and she said, "Oh, your hat," she said to my grandmother, "your hat is lovely, and I remember seeing it earlier on a much younger lady."
Wow. So how old do you think you were right then?
Maybe 3.5, 3.5, I'm thinking.
So why do you think this memory is so clear?
I think everybody has a craving. I think the human heart has a craving to feel special. And I think in that moment I felt really special.
That's intriguing. Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Yeah, please.
I love the idea of the hat representing the protection of thinking, if you would, that can be passed on, but definitely needs to be protected. Just the metaphor of the hat and your grandmother putting that on you, and your mind. It's just the protection of your mind and that being necessary. Just the metaphor, just the picture. Yeah.
I love it. I love that thought. Yeah, and she was always very much about, get your education and all that. So,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, pretty intriguing how it connects. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
My parents used to listen to a lot of Frank Sinatra, and there was this one song, and it was called High Hopes. And it was, about, like a ram butting a dam, because he had high hopes. Everybody told him he couldn't put a hole in the dam, but he wouldn't scram. No one could make the ram scram. He kept butting the dam because he had high hopes. So that was to me, and there were children singing in the background too with Sinatra. So I would like that song when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's amazing how it connects, right? Like you're definitely the person with high hopes, right?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Well, Teri, we have arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Teri, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes, all of my listeners.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
I do not.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Oh, yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Oh, yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
It's probably right at 8, maybe a little less than 8. I try to make it less when I can.
All right, Terry, after 1,001 conversations in 3 months in 2016, thereafter, I came up with a workbook that I'm very proud of. It's called Your Own Unique Real Self, Yours. And the idea is after self-discovery, you connect through the questions with your own unique real statements, if you would. What is also called your mission, right? If you, Terry, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Terry O'Brien, what would you say that is?
I would say I like to look back at Robert Louis Stevenson said, keep your fears to yourself, but share your courage with others. Because one thing I have observed just through all these interviews and just life in general, that the thing that really makes a difference in people's lives is courage.
Love it. Terry O'Brien, before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Oh, guys, I mean, I just love this concept. I love what Angel's doing. It's fantastic. And if you have a chance to check out any of my offerings over on iTunes, Dangerous Thinkers with Teri O'Brien or The Teri O'Brien Show, write a review, rate the show, subscribe. I think you'll like it. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And I certainly am going to be a big fan going forward of this podcast.
Love it. And I'm a fan as well of yours, Terry. And I'm not saying that because you said that, but I definitely love the content there. Terry O'Brien, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.